Okay, great. So thank you so much for joining us, Olga. I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell the audience where you are from, when you were diagnosed, and what conditions you're currently managing.
Hi, thanks so much, Sam. Can you hear me? Fine. Just want
Yes.
to make sure. Okay. My name is Olga. I live in Los Angeles. I am a mom of two, and I have POTS, obviously, and along with a few other things like migraine, fibromyalgia, SVT, and IBS. Um, so I was diagnosed back in October of 2021 to an ER visit actually, and officially diagnosed with a tilt table test of February 2022. But it took me 7 years to find that answer.
Yes, oftentimes these journeys can take a while. So how have your responsibilities as a mother been affected by your POTS diagnosis?
Yeah, it's been hard because I like to be in control. Like I'm a control freak. I like to do things my way. So having to let go a lot of those responsibilities and not being able to do them the way I would like to is really hard. It's really affected me in a way where I've had to let go of that control. It's like you have no control sometimes. You have a lack of control. And it makes it difficult to function every day. You have to say no to your kids a lot. You have to, I mean, I've always been a planner, but now I have to plan, but also know that that can change at any moment, or we might have to cancel, or we might have to cut something short. So it's really hard because I do say no a lot. We do things differently. We do go at a slower pace. I feel like I slow them down sometimes. And I can't do all the things that I would love to do with them, like go hiking with them or go for a bike ride. I'm usually like off to the sidelines watching. So that's been very, very difficult. And just having to ask for help. It's hard to ask my kids for help when I feel like I should be the one doing all the things. But it's been a learning process and we're getting through it. So
I can't imagine how difficult it must be, especially kind of having this newfound diagnosis. And so you mentioned that you have to kind of say no to a lot of things and you've kind of taken on this new role. How do you communicate your, like, I guess, needs and limitations to your family?
um, honestly, initially it was really hard. I feel like I never really asked, I just found a way to do it. And as it got worse, it was hard to hide that or to like disguise it. So fortunately my kids are getting older, so they're a lot more helpful. Um, I've had to explain to them a lot of things so that they can understand. So just we live in like multiple stories, so just sometimes I can't go upstairs and just asking them like, "Can you please grab this for me?" But they understand now that what it does to my body just to go up the stairs. Um, so just really talking to them, having open conversations with them, really explaining to them the best that I can. It's not easy explaining to a kid because they get scared. My daughter has anxiety, so it's been a very difficult journey, but I think we are at a point now where they really do understand that mommy needs help and that there are reasons for that, and it is different than mostly everyone else. But we do things together as a team, and as a family. So yeah, it's hard asking for help, but they are so willing because like I think the love is there, and we help each other out whenever we can. So
That's
I'm
really
sorry.
beautiful. Yeah. And like it's so important to have an understanding support system. And like you said, like having to explain to family members, and once they start to kind of understand, it definitely helps with kind of your journey and journey to recovery. It looks like Jackie has joined. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, I'm so sorry. I was having it wouldn't load, it wouldn't open.
No worries. Really quickly, do you want to introduce yourself and tell the audience where you are from, when you were diagnosed, and what conditions you are managing?
Sure. So I'm Jackie. I'm from Southern California, and I was diagnosed about 2.5 years ago with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And then after that, we found out that I had, or I was diagnosed with, and they realized that I had also POTS, mast cell activation, and then chronic migraine.
Yeah, and so Olga and I were just kind of talking about how her responsibilities as a mother has been affected by her diagnoses, and also how she's been able to communicate her needs and kind of the limitations that come along with some of these diseases to her family.
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely something that is difficult to do. I mean, navigating that, trying to understand what to tell kids, how to explain things, what's appropriate. I mean, for me, it's been kind of different every year, like different, like my kids can understand more now than they could in the beginning. And so that's changed a lot for me just in the past 2 years. So it's been interesting to navigate.
Yeah, and so kind of coming off that question, we talked about having an understanding support system, and just knowing that there will be times where you kind of need to prioritize yourself and your own health. How have you guys found opportunities for self-care and rest? And have there been any treatments or strategies that you've used to manage some of these symptoms?
Well, I can go.
Okay.
Um, so I have an amazing husband. So I am very, very fortunate and very, very grateful because I feel like he gives me the opportunity to rest when I need it. I think he usually sees when I need it. So that allows for me to just be able to lay down and I can be stubborn sometimes, so he'll kind of force me down. So to do things, he'll take on a lot of the heavy work that will usually just completely put me out of breath. But also really knowing that focusing on my mindset really helps. Doing a lot of meditation, continuing to my best to stay active. I have been doing acupuncture on top of medication, as well as I just started, well, for migraine, I started magnesium infusion. Um, and really just, I'm always trying something to make myself feel better so that I can function just a little bit more every time.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. Like we're always trying to find any little bit, and it adds up, like little things that help you 5% or like 10%. All of those things stack up, and um, for me, it's been definitely challenging to rest. I know that it sounds weird, but like throughout the years, I like overly pushed myself, and I think that contributed to my fatigue getting so much worse. They said I met the criteria for chronic fatigue, but they're trying to rule some things out. So that's why I didn't list it. But I definitely deal with like those symptoms a lot. And um, I mean, it's just been a constant learning curve trying to figure out when to rest, when not to rest, what's too much and what's not enough. And that kind of like push and crash cycle is really hard when you have kids and you're trying to manage caring for them while also taking care of yourself. And I feel like I'm still definitely learning that. But I agree with what you said, Olga. Same thing with my husband. Like, he's been so, I could not do this without him, like having his help, having that support. And he's never made me feel guilty for resting or for taking care of my needs. And that's just like, having a good partner has been, I think, the biggest thing that has helped me through all of this. And of course I take, medications too, like getting on a beta blocker changed everything. And I still deal with a lot of symptoms, more than I should, but it's definitely been like a huge help trying different medications, and that's been challenging too, like trying to figure out the right meds. It's just a constant learning experience, I feel like. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I can totally relate to like, I'm willing to try anything, like you said, just to get that 5% and like to try and get it to add up to really make a difference. But something that you both mentioned was that you can kind of start to feel, or I guess anyone with this can start to feel a crash coming on. And so are there any telltale signs that you guys can start to feel, or like triggers where like, okay, this is my time where like I need to prioritize my health and maybe put myself first?
Yeah,
Well,
I feel, oh, go ahead, Olga.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I feel like that's something, because I didn't even really know that I had, like, that fatigue was my main kind of indicator of what was going on. Like, I would wait usually until my heart would start racing really bad, or I would start feeling like I was going to faint, or different things like that. So learning to listen to that has been really tricky, because I had to like ignore my body for so long, just to push through. I mean, I shouldn't have, but I did. And so some things that I've noticed, like vision is one thing. Like, I think that's my first kind of sign. Once my vision starts to get blurry or weird or change, that's kind of like my first sign that I need to rest. Like, that's usually the first one. And then things kind of stack on that. But I try to listen, and I try to like do preemptive rest. They told me like, don't wait for symptoms. But I mean, that's really hard a lot of the time, because I never know like what's the limit, and every day is different. So it's tricky.
I completely relate. I feel like for a long time I would just go, and then I would crash. And then I would crash for a really long period of time. And then when I really found out what I had, and even still now, I'm learning to pace myself. I know that, maybe half a day of something as opposed to a full day. Preemptive rest, absolutely, knowing that you just have to kind of prepare yourself before a big outing. Make sure you're rested the day before. That's something that I've been learning to do, so that I can have the energy to get through something, but also allowing rest time afterward. The signs for me are definitely the vision. I started getting a lot of blurriness, a lot of dots, that whole like tunnel vision and blacking out. But when the blacking out is already like I pushed too far, but the little dots usually are big significance for me. I start feeling very dizzy and lightheaded.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so you both mentioned kind of a wide range of symptoms, and not a lot of people know about POTS, having it be sort of rare and kind of a complicated condition where there's a lot of moving parts. I found myself explaining to people, yet still feeling like people don't quite understand. So outside of your family, like, how do you advocate for yourself? And have you run into any misconceptions or misunderstandings surrounding the things that you're going through?
Well, okay. So for me, I like aside outside of my family, I do share on social media a bit. I try to share videos that I feel like can explain something a little more clearly. I like to share videos with people, especially like friends or acquaintances. And if I do mention that what POTS is, and they'll be like, "What is that?" I'll share a video, or I'll share like a post or an article that can clearly explain it, and they'll be like, "Oh, I get it. That makes sense," or things like that. So I do try my best to share on social media when I can, and share with those around me, because I do like to let people know. Just because I can appear a certain way, so I don't want them to think that like if I'm stepping away is because I'm feeling a certain way. Um, I have come across a lot of people that just say like you can just push through, um, or when you really want something, you just make it happen. It's easier said than done, and I used to be that kind of person. Um, but when you physically cannot push through, like you physically are on the ground and you can't move, um, I've had people around me who get it more when they've seen me have a bad episode, unfortunately, when they've seen me pass out, because it's not real unless they see it. Otherwise, people think like, "Oh, you look good today." Like, but they don't see that I'm wearing compressions and I just took 2 salt pills, and, I made sure to hydrate. So, um, I try to ignore all that stuff and know that, like, this is my truth, unfortunately, and I'm gonna try to educate people as best as I can.
That's such a great like view of things. And I've experienced the same thing too, where people don't get it until they see it. And that's really hard because, like, if you see me, it's because I'm having a good day. I'm having a day that I'm able to like leave the house or have someone over or like sit upright for a long period of time. And so it's like, it's almost like your good days can kind of be like misleading in a way, or like kind of be used against you with some people, not most people, but sometimes. And there's so much confusion with POTS because one of the reasons is the name, right? Like postural orthostatic tachycardia. It sounds like, oh, it's just your heart beats fast when you stand up, but it's so much more than that. And that's hard to explain to people because it's a long explanation to try to explain like all of it. And most people, it's hard to know, like, does someone really want to know? Or like, I don't want to be like that person that's like overtelling information and being like giving unrequested medical information or whatever. And so there's a lot of misconceptions, and I think one of the best ways to advocate is like what you said, Olga, is like sharing information, like sharing something, um, like a video or a post that explains it. And the fact that you do that is just so helpful and so great. And there's so few parents that are in this space, I think I'm still really learning to advocate for myself when it comes to like doctors and different things. But for me, one of the things that encourages me is just remembering the great doctors that I have had, that there are amazing physicians out there that want to help and can help. And so that kind of keeps me going and motivates me to keep pushing forward for more care.
I love that. And Olga, you mentioned kind of, even though like your reality is kind of has changed a lot, kind of accepting it and doing what you can with it. Do either of you have any hopes or goals for your health and well-being, both as an individual and as a mother, whilst kind of dealing with POTS?
Yes, I hope that I will heal myself one day, and that there will be a cure for it one day. I don't know if that day will ever come, so I've really had to change my mindset, and most recently, knowing that I just have to learn to live with this for now and do the best that I can to improve and work on my quality of life, and hope that there is a cure or a way to fix this one day. And but also, you know, being realistic and pushing myself just a little bit more every day to do things that make me uncomfortable, because for a long time I was scared to walk outside and faint. So doing a little bit more, but using all the tools like a wheelchair or a cane just to be able to get outside and do things with my kids and my family. So just taking it one day at a time.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better. I think, like, for me, I can't think too far because it's just like so it's just so hard, like, dealing with this. And I mean, it's been, words can't even describe like how hard this has been. But I mean, for me, I just try to think about like, what's the next step? Like, what I probably should set like goals more, but like for me, it's more, I can't go that far. So it's more thinking like small goals, thinking about small goals like, okay, can I get, these symptoms improved a little bit better? Like, what can I do? Like, have I tried this medication? Have I seen this doctor? Have I tried, am I getting enough salt or water? What, all of these things. And it's just I'm just trying to push for like little things, because the big things just seem so far and like overwhelmingly like away sometimes. Sorry, I'm not trying to be like negative, but I want to be like real about like my like experience with this. So that's kind of, it's just been little things like baby steps for me, trying to find the next thing that I can improve, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think our goals consist of like a 5 minute to 10-minute walk,
Yeah.
as
Exactly.
opposed to, and unfortunately, a lot of thing has fallen to the wayside, and like focusing on just feeling a little bit better every day.
Exactly. Like, I just want to do a little better, or I mean, I want to be a lot better. It's not like I don't want to improve like greatly, but I'm always trying to like just improve, and have like a plan of what the next steps are for that, or what that looks like.
Yeah, and especially because every day is so unpredictable and with this, and you don't really know what tomorrow's gonna look like. So I can definitely relate to just setting the small goals and kind of taking it day by day. Thank you guys for coming on and sharing. I know I was very inspired by just kind of your guys's grit, like Dr. Rose said, and all that you guys have done with POTS and also being a mother. So thank you guys both for speaking.
Oh, thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining. I want to tell everybody that's listening that you can also access Olga and Jackie's individual stories on our website at the blog at dysunderstood.com. I highly recommend that you take a listen. Both of them are really, like Sam said, inspiring, but also very vulnerable and real. And I always appreciate that both of you are willing to talk about the challenging things. I think sometimes it's, we shy away from those things in certain audiences, but I think this community is kind of the perfect place to open up about that, because you have an audience that one can relate, but also wants to hear, and is also very familiar with the idea that we don't have all the answers, and that's okay. It's unfortunate, but we're managing as we can. But I truly appreciate both of your contributions, and thank you, Sam, for hosting this discussion. We're going to take just a 1-minute break, and then we are going to have our next guest speaker, Dr. Jennifer Curtin. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.